And here we go. Alright, so last time we finished the Promise Renacimiento route. I think that's what it was called. We had a whole mental breakdown about how things are not adding up, but we are currently looking for some of the other endings, right? I do have a guide pulled up to just kind of help me make those decisions, but nothing that's been spoiled so far. Do I sound a little like I got out of bed? I shouldn't, but I might. Let me tell you. Yesterday, pretty normal day, you know. I had a good night out the night before then. So I thought, you know, Saturday was gonna be like a sleep in type of day. You know, normally after going out or drinking or whatever, like I'll normally have like a later morning or whatnot. But that just didn't happen. I kind of went to sleep, woke up pretty early around my regular time, and then I was just there like, huh. So then I decided to play, which was yesterday, what we did here in the game. And I was like, surely I'll take a nap during the day, right, to kind of just recharge and, you know, try to keep my sleep schedule going. Continued the rest of my day pretty normal. Came home after running some errands, and I was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna take a nap. It's like 1 o'clock. I don't normally take naps. I'm definitely not a nap guy. Like, they come kind of few and far in between. So I was like, okay, it's like 1 o'clock, I'll take a nap, and I have nothing else, like I had nothing else planned for the rest of the day. So I'll take a nap and then we'll just see where we go. I honestly had hopes to come back to this game and continue playing. That's kind of like the pre-plan was. And I'm like, okay, cool. No, we'll take a nap and we'll take it from there. Took my nap. I woke up feeling very rested. I look at my phone, 2:30. I'm like, oh, cool. That was like an hour and a half nap. That's pretty good. Like, I feel like I slept like through the whole night. Like, as rested as I felt, right? I was like, that must have been a miracle. I have blackout curtains, right? So not a lot of light comes in through my room. I look at the curtain. I looked at the curtain and it's pitch black outside. And I sat there and I was like, huh. That wasn't an hour and a half. That was like 13 hours. So yeah, I woke up the next morning, basically. Slept through 13 hours. Very, very... No wonder I felt so rested, right? So I've been up for quite a bit now. I don't even know why I said all that, honestly. That was a lot of yapping, especially for the game. Anyways, we're just gonna go. So all these should pretty much be the same thing. Nothing quite different there. So let me load into this one. It should be the older one, just kind of.
テスターをやめたいです。
Just in case this is the first time you're watching the VOD, you know, afterwards, and you decide to start in part 8 for some reason. I do not read any of these that you see on the screen, mainly because I don't want to embarrass myself, and I am a pretty slow reader, so I trust that if anybody wants to follow along, they can read it way before I do. You will hear me chime in, say things that you see on screen sometimes. Maybe if somebody said something that was pronounced kind of funny, or names. I like saying the names a lot. But don't expect me to be reading everything in the visual novel, which is probably like, I don't know, the main point of the game, right? To read. So gameplay wise, I'm probably not doing you a good service, but this is a reaction. At this one, this is a reaction channel first and foremost. I want to capture my reactions to the games that I'm playing. So for me, it works out. Plus, I don't really like hearing my voice too much. So wait, what did he just say? He said, I want to stop being a tester. Okay. So this is after. I might need to pull up the save file, just kind of look at the images. Okay, we got introduced to the AI. I think this is at the therapist room. So Okabe has some pretty bad PTSD from the events of the first game. This is maybe just meeting the AI Kurisu. And this is him accepting to being a tester. Kinda had a couple of calls with her. It's messing up with his brain. It's making him think that this is the real Kurisu, and he knows that that's not true. So he's like, maybe I should keep a safe distance. Which is what the decision we made here pretty much was. And I guess that's what we're talking about, how I want to get out. I say he wants to get out. So that is interesting. That is a very, very big deviation. I think that's the right word. From what we experienced on our first playthrough. Deviation, is that the right word that I'm looking for? An action of departing from an established course or accepted standard. Well, maybe not accepted standard. I don't know which is most likely to happen, but within the context of my own playthrough, right? It felt like the sort of secret meeting you'd see in a spy movie.
いきなりそんなこと無責任だわ。
魔法このテストはむしろリンタロウの善意で成り立ってるんだ。引き受けてもらえただけでもこちらとしてはありがたかった。ここで辞退しても無責任ということは決してないから大丈夫。
すみません。
ただ私としてもできれば続けてもらいたいんだよ。ざっとログを見たがかなり頻繁に話してくれているじゃないか。それに研究室で我々が相手をしていた頃とはクリスの話し方がだいぶ違う。人は社会的な生き物だ。相手と状況によって言動を変える。
You know, one of the things that I am very curious about is because we leave the program or the testing and we don't get, I imagine, right, we don't get as buddy with the people at Victor Condria University. Why did I fucking say it like that? I don't know. But since we don't get buddies with them, do we even get a backup of our memories for the future? Like, is this a future where the for all intents and purposes, I would call it brain dead. The brain dead Okabe just doesn't get his memories back. At that point, did they even preserve the body if there's no hope on him getting better? I mean, I don't even know if that matters at this point.
でも再現できていると見ていいだろう。だからこそ もうしばらくテストを続けたいんだ。ちなみにやめようと思った理由は何かな？エムデウスと話すのが辛くなったかい？
Pretty insightful of him.
いえ、逆です。
逆？
アマデウスとクリスと話すのはとても楽しいんです。でもそれが怖くて。
やはり君に負担をかけてしまったね。本当。ただ君のその反応は研究者ではない目線でエムデウスを捉えているという意味で私も勉強になるよ。こんな言い方や感じ方になってしまうのも。
Whoa, 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 whoa. In the sense that you're interacting with Amadeus from the perspective of someone who isn't a scientist is very valuable to me. First of all, Okabe is a scientist of the maddest kind, okay? I don't want to hear it. I mean, I guess within the context, like not a scientist as in like somebody from their specific lab. But come on, put some respect on the name, man. Okabe Rintaro? My boy, he has sent emails to the past. And he has transported his memories across time. So, I don't know, I would say that he's somewhat of a scientist himself.
許してほしい。何しろ、根っから。
いえ、こっちもわがまま言っているのは分かっているんです。
分かった。テストの事態については君の望む通りにしよう。ただアクセス権は君のスマートフォンにそのまま残しておいて構わないかな。
Now that I think about it, I this probably should have been in the in the very first part of the stream, right? Since I was talking about everything that was happening between yesterday and today. Another thing that I noticed is that for some reason Twitch has been muting the audio on some of the well, no, actually in all of the bots that currently exist, right? Because you know some of them got deleted by an unknown force. Maybe it was me. It was definitely me. But yeah, like parts was it 5, 6, and 7, which just decided to mute parts of them, and I'm just like that doesn't even make sense. Like there's no music that I'm not doing anything outside of just playing the game, so I don't know why you're muting the game itself. I would get it if I had like music in the background at least, but no, this has all been in game only. That's a little weird. Going forward, I am going to be recording the streams on OBS because I think that way it'll give me individual track for the different audio parts, and I'm going to have a backup with the audio, the game audio, and a backup of the mic. Now there should still be the VOD that's gonna have automatically both of them, but this is just something separate in case it keeps on muting the games. I'll be able to upload it on YouTube with 100% of the content, right? I'm not gonna be relying only on what the VOD on Twitch has, even though it makes it easier to just export it directly from Twitch. I do not want to look back like imagine if some of the parts that are muted, because I haven't had a chance to review them, right? Nor do I think that I'll be viewing them anytime soon. These are mostly like saves for the future. But like, imagine it being like such an important part of the game. Like we're reaching the ending, or it's the like yo man, you know how mad I'm gonna be if I go back and I look and the part that's muted is when we see the return of Hoinkyo. But dude, I would be livid. I'm not gonna lie. Because that's some of the best parts of the game, and I don't want to risk the risk of not being able to save that part. Now they'll live on in my memory as long as I can remember them, right? But I just think that's gonna be a little bit better to have everything nice and tight somewhere in its completion. But yeah, bit of a tangent. I definitely should have said that before I started playing the game, but I just thought about that, and you know, this is all for the sake of keeping all my thoughts on the record, right? Anyways, we continue.
Eh?
今後アメデウスと話すのも話さないのもクリスの方からは君に連絡しないように言って。
So he'll
私たちと君との関係を今日これで終わりにはしたくないんだ。せっかくできた日本の友
a
人だし。
scientist,
それに
as a representative of a lab, as an educator, well, maybe not as an educator, as a professor, as a career man, right? I think that's fucking nuts, dude. What you mean you're gonna leave this guy access to your super secret research and let him being able to interact with it on its own time, completely unsupervised, unrelated? That, you have to have like so much trust in that person, which in this scenario, like, they've met maybe a couple of days, if not a couple of weeks ago, right? And they've probably interacted very, very little. So he just has to have some really strong feelings about Okabe's character. And B, it just doesn't like unless he is the guy in charge, like the head of everything, not even of the project, but like literally of everything. Because like, imagine trying to go out there and get funding for your research, you know, having to get backers, having to have people under you who are putting their hard work into this project, and then just kind of going over the heads of all of those, of everyone, to give access to this, effectively this random, right, that you met one time in a different country. Maybe you can think that maybe maybe not him specifically, right? Maybe you can go under the idea that giving a complete nobody access to your research is gonna result in nothing because he doesn't have an audience to show it to. I would say that's still a very dangerous thought to have because it is the age of the internet. So you could easily just like leak it online. I don't know. This just doesn't sit well with me. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it's super cool within the context of the game, and if I was Okabe, I'd be like, damn, dude, such a chill guy, right? But I like trying to apply this into the real world. I just don't think that's right. It's cool in the game. I just don't think it would be
魔法も寂し
ethically
がるし
correct.
ね。
教授
You see, Maho gets it.
わかりました。
おっと、失礼。ちょっと魔法、その間にリンタロウと仲直りしておくようにね。
ごめんなさい。
いや、
教授の言う通り、こちらがお願い。アマデウスは今の私にとっては姉妹。それを投げ出されたように思えて。
力になれなくて。
あなたの気持ちも分かっているつもりよ。あるいはつもり、自己嫌悪だわ。ダメね、私。
Okay, thinking back to what I was just saying. I think it would make a lot of sense if somebody in Rintaro's position, if somebody in Rintaro's position made a decision like that, because Rintaro, you know, it's like, it's a small lab, they don't have any funding, they don't have anybody backing them up, they don't answer to anyone, and then on top of that, you know, Rintaro and Daru are like the only two who really do anything around the lab, as far as the lab side goes, right? So if one, honestly, one or the other at this point, if either one of them made a decision like that to give their project or access to their project to somebody else, I would have been like, okay, they are in a position to make that decision. I just don't think somebody like Dr. Leskinen over here has that power. I don't think he's in that position of being the head of everything and being able to take an executive decision. That's what I would call it, right? I call it even when it's not an executive decision, but you know, an executive decision to give away access just like that. I'm sure people maybe understood it the first time. I say people as if somebody actually has seen the videos. This is a weird thing to say, huh? Like either because it came out like naturally, like I didn't have to think about what word to choose there, but either that just implies that I am going a little delusional, like all those times that I keep on seeing, like I keep to referring in I's and me's when I'm talking about Okabe, which, you know, I think it's a little delulu, which is why I try to correct myself. So it's either a case like that or a case that I just really believe that somebody's gonna watch the video sometime in the future. Maybe because if I would have thought that it was just me who watches it, a more natural response would have been, I'm sure I can understand that if I see that in the, like if I see that, or I'm sure I could understand what I'm saying in the context of looking back at it, right? But no, I said it in a way where somebody else would have to see it and understand it. Like, I'm sure people will have understood what I said. So I guess I just really trust that somebody will see it. It's a weird, kind of nice thought to have, but a little weird. Anyways, that was a completely unrelated tangent. I feel like these streams are slowly just becoming my gaming diary. Just put in all my thoughts. It's actually just my diary with gameplay in the background. It's like when you're in TikTok and you see all those videos and it has a Subway Surfers at the bottom. And it's like,
前
are
頭
we
前
really
皮
watching
質
a
は
video with Subway
人
Surfers
格を
at the
形成す
bottom,
る
or
部位
did
の
they
一
just
つ
put
で
something, or did they just add
情
a
報
video
の
to
フィ
my
ルタリング
Subway
を行うこ
Surfers?
と
You
もある
know?
わ己の中の認めがたい情報を遮断したり自己欺瞞を行ったり
And I think referring it to a gaming journal isn't that bad. Like, I'd say that's the closest thing I can describe it as, which I'm glad that I've been able to vocalize it now, because that's gonna help me a lot more when I have to fix the bio in the about stream section on Twitch. So hopefully I'll remember. Actually, matter of fact, let me go ahead and write that down just so that I won't forget. 'Cause I've been trying to figure out how to describe what the stream is, because I think I've done a very good job at saying that this is not an entertainment stream, but a gaming journal sounds very accurate as to what I'm doing. Journal. Okay. So I got that saved on my notes. Hopefully I won't forget to check them, but I'm sure I'll see the notes at some point.
要するにむき出しの情動を隠そうとしてとっさに嘘をついたりするのよ。他人だけじゃなく今の私みたいに難しい言葉を並べて自分を取り繕ってやろうとか、こういうことも前頭前皮質がやってるんだと思うわ。
誰でも
私は特別ひどい。今後も気が向いたらでいいからアマデウスを構ってあげて。
考えておくよ。
ありがとう。
なあ、聞いていいか？クリスの
お？
前にパーティーの時、君とレスキネン教授が話しているのがクリスの家に。
ああ、あのこと。クリスのお母さんから電話があったの。
え？
ちょうどその日は留守にしていたから大丈夫だったそうよ。私、クリスのお母さんには結構可愛がってもらっていたの。
I mean, she still lost her house, so I wouldn't say nothing happened to her. In case this doesn't make sense, sometimes I don't get to process the thought until after I read it. So it's not like my audio is delayed and you're seeing me, or you're hearing me say this as you're seeing this on screen, or this, right? It was just that I read it, I moved on, and then I thought about it. I'm sure this is not the first time I've done it, but
休日に
just wanted to be on
家
the
にも
record.
よく招待してもらってね。だから心配だわ。
変なこと？ただの放火じゃないのか？
それが
ヒアジョーさん。
Yeah, Jean.
それが最初は地元の警察が捜査していたらしい。
FBI？
You know, I think that's an interesting way to phrase it. She didn't say first the police came and then the FBI came. It's people saying they were the FBI. So I guess, to me, that sounds like Maho understands that there's a good possibility that it's not the FBI. Or it could be the FBI. Maybe like a 50-50 chance, right? But I think that means there's at least a seed of doubt that it might have not been the FBI.
ええ、FBI が出てくるような事件じゃないのによ。それと放火したその証言によると、犯人は ただの放火犯には見えなかったって。
というと
This is the interesting part about playing a game that A has slight branches to the story, but B, it understands that it's gonna get played more than one time. So you have to write dialogue that makes sense both as if this was your first time playing the game and this was your first route, and in the context of you've played a different route and then you're coming back and you're playing this one. Because like if I would have played this as my first route, first playthrough, I would have been like, huh, that's a little weird. Like, maybe if she didn't even say anything about it, like maybe if the game didn't put any emphasis on it, I would have just thought of it as a case of arson and nothing else. And then maybe when it got brought up again, I would have been like, oh, you know, like maybe they're sort of kind of hinting that there's something more going on there, but I wouldn't have had any theory or any idea as to what it would be, right? But in my reality, I did play through the game already, a different route, and I kind of understand that there are at least two groups of people who are looking to get the information from Kurisu's mind or archive mind. And because this was in America, it's highly likely that it was the Derpa and not Stratford. Huh, that's weird. I don't have. Oh, my bad. That's because that was unread. Wired. Derpa and Stratford. Yep.
複数犯でね、なんだか特殊部隊みたいだったって。ほとんど何も喋らず、火をつけたらすぐ近くに止まっていた車に乗り込んで去っていったそうよ。
Now, I will say that I don't understand why they needed to burn the house. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me at all. If they were looking for the laptop, and it was in the house, it would have burned. Okay, never mind. I think I get it. Derpa has to know that the information that they're looking for is in two places. It is either, or not either. It is both in the AI Kurisu and the Amadeus, and it's in her laptop. Those are the two places that they know for sure that the theory to time travel is at. Which the second one is a bit of an asterisk, right? Like, they don't know for sure that the information is there, but if she did the research and she did paper on it, then chances are she did it with her computer, right? Because if it would have been like a work computer or something like that, they would probably already have access to it. So because they know that the information is there, they burned the house down because they want to avoid there being the information somewhere else, like in her house. Like maybe she made a copy of the report that she kept at home, like a paperback. So they burned the house as a measure, as a preventive measure, so that nobody else could accidentally stumble across it, because they want to be the only ones with that information. I think that's what it is, and that's starting to make sense. I didn't get it at first. At first I was very much like, why are they burning the house down? Actually, that was the biggest thing with the first time that I heard about her house catching on fire. Like, why would they burn her house? At first I thought that maybe it was because they were trying to get rid of her mom, which I would have said, huh, how is she related at all to this, unless she's also a researcher or helped her in her theory or something like that. But I didn't think that was the case at first. It was just a possibility. or B, maybe as a revenge plot. But either way, it wasn't making a lot of sense to me why they would have wanted to burn the house down. But now I at least have a working theory that I could cope with.
こんな言い方が正しいかどうかわからないけど、手際が火の回りも異常なほど早かったらしいわ。
And that was a realization I had live here on the stream. It wasn't something that I thought of in between yesterday and today, and then I was like, huh, I'm gonna add it to the stream. Nah, it's a very genuine reaction of, aha. It was my aha moment, like, aha, I get it now. Sorry.
So,
I see, this is what I mean, like things like this on the first playthrough, you're like, yeah, considering what happened on the first game, like that definitely makes sense. That's definitely always a possibility. But having this as a second playthrough, it's just like very ironic, and I mean that word in the very literal sense. Like there is some irony of there is the irony of knowing that there is in fact a group there, knowing who the group is, and in my case kind of having an idea of why they did it. So that's what I'm saying, the writing is pretty good because it makes sense on both contexts, and I can't imagine that being an easy task. Maybe not, maybe I'm giving it, like I'm thinking way too into it. But if it was intentional, like that was crazy good. They were speaking Russian. Alright, now that's a curveball here. Now that's a curveball. I mean, I guess there's always the possibility of more than two groups being involved. Which kind of makes me more confused now that I think about it, because if it wasn't the Derpa and it was like a third organization, Russian, by the context of the conversation, now I don't understand why they would want to burn it. I guess my reason as to making sense of burning the house down only makes sense if Derpa was the one who made it. But if it's anybody else, I'm still kind of lost as to why they would choose to burn the house. And the thing is, it could be Russia. Like there could be a third group. That's definitely within the cards. I mean, when they added the second group, it came a little out of nowhere, but you could still make sense of it because obviously, you know, like if somebody knew that time travel was possible, everybody would be on it. And the first group, Straffer, it's kind of expected, right? With having somebody who was kidnapped but doesn't have memories of it. And what was the other thing? And obviously what happened before the... Oh my god, did that happen after this? That did. Oh, that happened way after. But yeah, when they busted into the door and took Kagari the first time, like at that point you kind of know that it's a fact that there's a first group. So when they sorry, I'm not doing this on purpose, I swear. I'm just trying to vocalize my thoughts and kind of make them make sense. So having the first group is kind of expected, especially taking into consideration that there was a mysterious group in the first game. In the first game, having a secret group wasn't super out of the question because Okabe just kept on talking about this organization, which ended up being like purely fictitious in his mind, right? The enemies of Hoin Kyoma. But he just kept on talking about it so much that when there was an actual group of bad people, you're like, okay, maybe that was just the game's way of easing us into the idea of an enemy, right? Like an actual physical bad group of people. So it wasn't so much of a, oh my god, what is this? Why would they add? I was just thinking about this. Man, I'm telling you, synchronicity or just weird coincidence. Today, this morning, I was thinking about Samurai Flamenco. Was a anime show, came out a good amount of years ago. Maybe not that long, like maybe about 10-ish years, I want to say. And I remember watching it live. I started this is just my diary at this point. I was watching it as it was coming out, week to week. And at first I thought it was very, very endearing and very fun. And I mean, till this day, I still remember it. So obviously it made some sort of impact or some sort of impression, not impact, for sure. It made some sort of impression because it's just a story about this guy who is a model and he really likes this show, kind of like Power Ranger type show with a masked man that's a superhero. And then he's like, I want to be just like that. And then he makes like a suit and then starts going around town doing his best job at keeping everybody safe and protected and doing justice. But in reality, it's just like, hey man, you shouldn't put out your trash today because your trash day is tomorrow, so you should put out your trash tomorrow. Or hey, stop bullying that kid. Or hey, you forgot your umbrella. Like very, very like grounded, very things that do happen in day to day, but they're not like big injustices of the world, but he's still trying to correct them, right? And in that sense, I just thought that the show was super endearing and I loved it. And if that's how the whole show would have been, I think I would still be talking about it till today. Like it would still probably be in my top 10s and I would be recommending it to everyone that ever asked me for an anime recommendation. But like halfway into the show, they introduced like real bad people that were like monsters or aliens or something, I can't remember, with like real powers that were doing real destruction. And then suddenly our protagonist gets chosen to be part of this real task force that's kind of like a Power Rangers group. And they give him like real machinery so he can really fight the really bad guys. And that's when I stopped watching. Like as soon as I got introduced, I watched like an episode or two and I was like, yep, nope. Probably in the mind of my younger self, I can really tell you why I forgot or I stopped watching it. I would have just been like, maybe I just forgot that it existed. Watching shows week to week is not my forte either because maybe I'll get sucked into like another show or another fandom or something, and then I'll completely forget about the first one. So that's the explanation that I probably would have given you. But I do feel like subconsciously, I just felt like, hey, it lost the plot. I don't know what this is anymore. I like the show because it was nice and endearing, and it had, you know, all these like great messages about how you don't have to have superpowers and you don't have to fight real evil to like make a change. But then you introduce like super outlandish things. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is there are stories that kind of ease you into the idea and then eventually capitalize on that by introducing said idea or said concept into like an actual group. I guess it doesn't have to be a group, but into like an actual thing. But then there's other ones that it just kind of, outside of the show having enemies, it was just a big leap from the endearing show that I like to Power Rangers the anime. There was no real reason why those two had to happen, or why there was that big disconnect, and they could have been two separate things, two separate shows, you know? So this game has done a very good job at kind of introducing that. So that's what I'm saying. In the first game, it made sense. In this game, having a first group made a lot of sense. And because of the nature of people wanting to know how to time travel, and because in the first game, we were told that this John Titor from the beta timeline started writing about how World War III, this and that, and even in the first one, how multiple countries were trying to fight for the time travel, and eventually, I guess that's when they introduced it, now that I think about it, because they said multiple people were fighting to complete time travel, and we're trying to see who completes time travel first, and obviously there would have to be like espionage and all these crazy shenanigans, spies and task force, and probably the murdering of many people and researchers and scientists. So I guess that was kind of like the foundation of this that we're seeing right now, with the Stratfor and Derpa, and maybe now this third Russian one. I don't know where I was going with that. I don't know how this started, I'm not gonna lie. I've been yapping for way too long. Dude, we are 45 minutes into the game and I've probably done like not even 10 minutes worth of slides.
地元警察と一緒に日本の刑事という人が来たのよ。日米の合同捜査でクリスの事件を調べているって。
That just shows how much of a
も
side
ちろん
tangent.
私たちはできる範囲で協力したんだけれど。
I promise not to go on
何日か経
another
って
tangent,
大学が
but
警察に問い合わせをした
a
ら
really funny comment now that I'm realizing that time. Maybe that's where the hour went. The one mysterious hour that got lost yesterday. Maybe that's where I went. It just went into my yapping. I was telling a friend, I was trying to recommend him to play the first game
そんな刑事が
because
日本
I
から来
so
た事
desperately
実は
want to
ない
talk
っ
to
て言
someone
われたわ。
about the game in real life and kind of like get somebody else's idea fully
じゃあ
fleshed out.
その日本の刑事は偽物だった？
それだけじゃないの。地元警察も私たちの研究、つまりね、
So I was telling my friend, I was like, you know, you like
警
reading,
察
right?
と称してやってきた人たち
Like,
全員
could
が
I interest you in a visual novel? And then he was like, yeah. And he was like, well, how long it's gonna take me? And I was like, I gave him the estimate. I was like, it's probably gonna take you about 30 hours. It took me a lot more, but I read super slow. And even in the first game, like even without recording or streaming or anything, I still went on tangents like this, exactly like this in the first game, maybe a little bit more related to end game. But I definitely absolutely went on these tangents that just went on way too long. And even though I told him it was going to take him about 30 hours, it took me a little bit more. Once I started looking at the first game, the hours that I have on Steam, I actually took 40 hours to beat the first game. And 30 hours, the 30 hours that I gave him was a very conservative measure, because if he reads at his normal pace, like I'm sure he could do it way before then. So that just kind of shows that there's a lot of hours where there's definitely hours in the first game that were just me sitting in front of my computer contemplating what the plot was giving me, or just going on crazy theories.
偽物。
そのことがあってから
Wait, what? It's not all the local police have been never searched our lab. Wait, what? I'm a little lost. A few days. I am super lost. Dude. Am I just having something on screen going on a tangent that never really was on the screen? I think that's exactly what I've done. I've been doing for like the past couple of slides. Here we go. It's still in paper about. Okay, that's when he was thinking about the dad. Okay, could he have something to do with that? There's one more thing. Right after this is that something weird had happened in the lab. Someone who said they were Japanese. Okay, so she said it again. Okay, someone who said they're the Japanese detective visited us with some of the local police. They said it was a joint US-Japan investigation into Karisa's death. Of course, we've helped as much as we could, but a few days later, the university asked the police. They said no such text had come from Japan, so the Japanese detective was fake. You know, this didn't make a lot of sense when I read it the first time, just because I was like, why would you have to specify they're Japanese if we're in Japan, right? But their lab is in the US, so. That's not all. The local police said they'd never searched their lab. In other words, not only was the detective fake, but everyone who came and said they were the police were also fakes. Okay, so that wasn't like... Scratch what I had said earlier when she had said people who said they were the FBI, and I was like, that just means that there was like some sort of intuition there. No, she just straight up knows that they're fakes, dude. What the fuck? I guess she's a way better storyteller than me, because I would have absolutely immediately, I would have probably said that like, you know, the FBI investigated, but I later found out that wasn't actually the FBI. They were fakes. That's almost, I can almost guarantee you that's how I would have worded it had I been the one telling the story, just because I am not a very good storyteller and I don't go from A to B. I go from A and then I'll add stuff from the future if I have to make it make sense in the context of this already happened, and obviously I'm still here standing in front of you. Like if I told you, well, that probably doesn't make sense, right? If I told you I thought I was gonna get shot, I would probably still say that. I wouldn't say like I thought I was gonna get shot, but I didn't, or I wasn't, right? Because obviously you would see that by me. All I'm trying to say is that I would have worded it differently, because I am very bad at telling stories, as you could probably notice by now, going on very weird side tangents. And Maho did it way better than me.
私、クリスの死には何か裏があると疑っているわ。別に陰謀論者ではないけれど。
I will say, either this adds the context of there being maybe even a fourth group now that's Japanese, and maybe a fifth group that is from the US. Well, I guess that was already the Derpa, so a fourth group from Japan. But hey, not only were these two kind of, at least from the context that it's given, are on the same side. Also, I just remember that Streffer had like a lot of people from a lot of different nationalities. Actually, now that I think about it, when they attacked the Suzuha, when she was dressed as Kagari, one of the dudes there was Japanese. So I guess I keep on saying that they're introducing more and more groups, or potentially, right? But now that I think about it, it could still just be Streffer and Derpa, because Streffer is international, so they would be able to have people of many different nationalities, right? Like a Russian arsonist and a Japanese and US detective, police force and whatnot. And I don't think those two, like I don't think it was Streffer as the Japanese and then Derpa as the American, just because I don't think those two, unless whoever did it was really good at their job and knew that they were being counter spied and used that lie to piggyback off the lie of the first group to get more information. I just doubt that. I think that they would have sent in their own A group and B group to it, because at the end of the day you don't want to put yourself in a position like that. That's what I think, at least. So potentially 4 to 5 groups, right? In practice, I would still probably take it down to 2, maybe 3.
何かもっと別の理由でクリスは殺されて、それが闇に葬られてしまったんじゃないかと、そう考えているのよ。
I do want the game to have some path or some route where we do actually tell Maho what happened to Kurisu and that we were the ones who killed her accidentally. Because I really just want to see her reaction to it. Not like in a sadistic way. Like, oh yeah, I want to see her suffer. I want to see the faces that she makes when she realizes the truth. No, I'm just like, would she be mad? Would she be sad? What would she say? I just really want to see that. I will say this is in 2010, so maybe the technology wasn't that. You see, this is an image from the first game, right? Like, I don't understand that they show us like images or parts of that happen in the first game with the new models, but then they show us these that are actually just from the first game, I think. Big asterisk there, right? I'm not 100% sure, but I am like 90% there that this is from the first game. Mainly because of like the hair effect. But there are parts in the game where we're recalling what happened in the first game and then they gave her like the new sprite without the hair effect. And I just think that's weird. Especially because they did it a lot more towards the second half that I completely kind of forgot that they used images from the first game in this one. Another thing that I think is kind of interesting, this might be the first time that I've seen this image, or I think it might have happened already with Mayuri, but this image, and I didn't like squeal in pain or have the thought of disgust or beg the game to stop showing me the scene. And I think that has a lot to do with the first game and obviously knowing how that ends. The true ending, right? And B, the ending that I got on my first playthrough of this game that just gave you the context that it's okay to be hopeful and that all of this was necessary in order to reach the Steins Gate world line. Am I fine with just calling it the Steins Gate? Or do I have to clarify that the Steins Gate world line? Like, do they think that the Steins Gate is the name of the world line? Like, instead of, because we still call it like the alpha world line and the beta world line in game, but I personally refer to the alpha or the beta sometimes, and I don't have to make that distinction because like you should be able to understand that I'm talking about the world line. Or sometimes I use world line and timeline interchangeably. Mainly because there's not like a super duper big distinction in my head of the two. Like they feel they can be used interchangeably, like tomato and tomato. That was a joke. So with that being said, I think I'm just fine with calling it the Steins Gate because it has gate in the name, and gate kind of implies that it's an entrance, so like the entrance to the world where everything is fine. Yeah, I think that makes sense. So this is what I was talking about earlier. Than the first game, they kind of were already telling us there were more groups involved, and even though we didn't interact with them, or even though we only interacted with one, which was CERN, the others were out there in the future, so it wasn't impossible for them to be here active in the present. Because I'm sure it didn't all just start at one time, right? In the future. Like, I'm sure that it's been a work in progress for many, many years.
このままじゃクリスは浮かばれないわ。真実を知りたい。
真実？真実を知りたいって。
Okay. That finally makes sense. Okay. I was wondering really, really hard why Kagari was able to be introduced in this game and not the first one. At first, I just thought it was like a very weird oversight that the Suzuha from the alpha never mentioned Kagari. And at first, like up until this moment pretty much, I just assumed that she was like embarrassed that she lost her in 1998. But now that I think about it, with no Mayuri in the future of the alpha, she would have never adopted Kagari. So while she might have still been in the world, like a version of her in the alpha, it would have been one that didn't have the same name Sheena, or the last name Sheena, and B, she would have just not been involved with the group at all whatsoever, because she had still been an orphan, yeah, but she just wouldn't have had anything to do with our group of people. So she probably would have never met Suzuha, and they probably would have never traveled to the past. So meaning, if there is a Kagari in the future of the alpha, that Kagari just probably never went to the past at all. It didn't click with me until the game reminded me that Mayuri dies no matter what in the alpha. I don't know, dude. I kind of almost feel ashamed. I feel like anybody else would have figured that out by now. Like, they didn't need 25 hours of one playthrough to explain why Kagari was part of this game and not the other. Like, Maho is completely, like, makes complete sense, right? In the sense that
少なくとも自分でどうにかできるなんて思わないことだ。
we never got this far in the first game. We never got to December of 2010. Because I would say she never went to Japan, but this is the future from what we experienced in the first game. But maybe she did, like maybe in the future of the first game in the alpha, like if we went all the way to December, maybe we would have met Maho. Maybe she still went to America with Dr. Leskinen. Maybe Kurisu would have wanted to see their lecture. Maybe they would have contacted each other. And maybe we do meet her there too. It's kind of hard for me to say. especially because that game ended still in like what, August? Not even August. The game, like the ending of the game was in like June, I think. Or July. And that game ended in the Steins Gate, so. But definitely not in December. We definitely hadn't reached December at all in the first game. Maybe, just maybe, you could say, well, you know, we never heard anything about Maho in any of the alternative endings, like in the Ferris or the, I think the Ferris one kind of ended when he accepted that everybody was okay. There was nothing he could do about it. Or nobody was going to remember him. But in the Luca ending, where they grow old together, given all we got was like a still image of a picture of them in the future. So yeah, you know what, it's fine. That's fine. The Suzuha one, obviously not, because we're all trapped in the time loop. And then were those all the side endings? We got, yeah, Suzuha, Paris, Luca, Mayuri, Kurisu, and the Churn. Yep, 6. So headcanon, he does meet her in the Alpha timeline every single time.
あなた
We just don't ever get to see it. That is
も
my
しかして
headcanon.
何か知っているの？
Once again, I am super lost. That's something you should leave for the police.
Not
そう。私、クリスのことになるとついムキになってしまうの。
あいつは本当にいいやつだったし、本当にすごいやつだった。
ええ。
二人ともよかったらこれから食事でも。
岡部さん、またこちらでのクリスの話を聞かせてくれる？
ああ、いつでも。
Plus the professor from here, from Japan. Okabe's professor. Get some water. Let's get water. In the middle of the stream. Also, you isn't the microphone. Not that I think the microphone's gonna answer back, but I don't know. It feels like it's a little weird with so many BRB screens that I put out, right? With as many BRP screens as I put out normally, which I'm totally fine with. It just feels a little awkward to get up to go get water mid-stream or mid-session. Just because it's not so far that I would use a BRB screen, but it's not so close that I could just do it without having the couple of seconds that's just gonna be blank. And if they're not blank, you're gonna hear me get super far away from the mic. And you're probably gonna be like, "This, what is it?" Right? Which is why I had to announce it. In reality, I have a mini fridge. It's just on the other side of the room, so I do have access to water pretty much whenever I want. It's just a couple of seconds away.
岡部君、ちゃっかりレスキネン教授に気に入られてるなんてなかなか抜け目ないな。この子には手放しちゃいけないぜ。君の将来のためにね。
はあ。
Were those gunshots?
What is this?
I sure was thinking that this doesn't look like it has a silencer, but it also doesn't. It didn't sound like a gunshot that was not silenced. But thinking back on Hitman the game, they were guns that had like built-in suppressors, which is what my guess would be as to why it didn't sound like a gunshot. But it's definitely a gun with no silencer. Visible silencer, I guess that's what I should say.
誰だ?
Okay, so going back to what I was talking about, the very clever writing. One of two things are happening. Either they have shown us this guy in game early in the story, like within the same route, or within the timeline of this route, and I just can't remember him, or this is writing meant to make sense after, like maybe we meet him later in this route, and then when you go back and you play this again for another ending, you're like, oh yeah, that's what he meant. Because the writing is fine enough. Like, it's a weird detail to put in here if it never gets brought up ever again. But I'm not gonna think about this 5 hours afterwards, right? Like, I'm not gonna look back and be like, you remember that one time 5 hours ago when he said he remembered a guy and he but he can't remember from when, and we just never got an answer for that? No, I'm gonna fucking forget. So it feels like that's what this is. Looking back at it, it feels like it's meant to be clever writing for when you have already played it, or I just have horrible memory and they have shown us this guy, and I just can't remember.
つまずきを与えるこの世は忌まわしい。もちろんつまずきが起きることは避けられないが、つまずきをもたらすもしお前の手か足の一つがお前をつまずかせるなら、両手両足揃っていて永遠の火に投げ入れられるよりも、それはお前にとって間違いなく幸せなのだから。またもしお前の片方の目がお前をつまずかせるなら、それをえぐり出して捨ててしまうがいい。たとえ片目であろうとも、陰の無の谷の炎に投げ入れられるよりずっと幸いに違いないのだ。神の与えし魂とは神の子である我々にこそ宿る。決してシリコンの上には宿らん。
Okay, this is more like the internal note, but internal note as in it should only make sense to me if I'm seeing this video in the future. The reason it took me a second, I got a little interested here, was because it kind of relates, or it's kind of vocalizing an idea that I've had within certain contexts, but the context is a little too personal, and I know I've been joking about this basically being a diary at this point, but there are some things that I definitely do not want to put out to the internet of my personal life, so. But I'm pretty sure if I ever see this video and I see this specific part again, it'll make sense to me. But I'm okay with saying that for the record, just for the sake of transparency. And who knows, maybe future me will be like, wow, dude, past me was almost like a mind reader. So insightful. Maybe he does clever writing too. Writing that only makes sense in the future. Oh my god, her expression changed. This is what a way to lighten up the mood in such a tense moment. POV, I got out of the office, driving home. POV, I'm on my way home after a hard day at the office. There we go. Honestly, I just thought he was driving really fast. It didn't occur to me that he just left the car in parking. Or never put it into first gear. I don't know if there's an automatic or manual. But all I was thinking about was this scene reminds me, like, it looks familiar to me of a person getting in the car and not knowing how to drive, it immediately sent me back to Cyberpunk Edge Runners. That one scene with David gets in the car and he's like, I don't know how to drive. And they're like chasing after them. That's exactly what I thought.
Shift!
ギアをドライブに入れなくてはダメよ。
Imagine. Imagine being shot at. It's a super tense situation. Your life is on the line. You think you're about to die. You're in the backseat of a car. Some dude, maybe out of confidence or maybe out of urgency and necessity, and pumped up full of adrenaline, gets in the front seat of a car. Mind you, this guy is older-ish, right? He was like, what, 18, 19 at this point? I don't know how the culture is in Japan, honestly, but I would assume that like a 19-year-old here where I live would probably have an idea of how to drive, right? So maybe this is only funny because I live in America, but yeah, getting into the seat, you know, you're so ready. You think he's about to make a run for it. We're about to go on this like epic, well, maybe not epic, maybe this is very, I mean, it has to be a very stressful situation, right? But you're like, okay, somebody's making a push to get us out of here, and he sits and he's just ramming the gas, and the car's not going anywhere because he forgot to take it off of parking. Like, there has to be some sense of despair at that moment, you know, when you have that realization, and I cannot imagine that, but it sounds very funny in my head. Like, the irony there is just, it's going, it's really doing it for me. I was thinking maybe I shouldn't be laughing. Like, obviously I'm laughing because this is not happening in real life and I am not the characters and I am not that empathetic where I could put myself into their shoes like this. But honestly, laughing might not even be the worst answer. Like, there are people who laugh in very stressful situations, kind of like a coping mechanism. So I wasn't even that far off. I was, you know, like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't laugh, but I don't think laughing is necessarily the wrong answer here.
魂はシリコンの上には宿らない。
Plus, with how the people just decided to change Maho's face on the previous scene, like, a part of me has to believe that they kind of added that as a joke, right? Meant to be laughed at. Oh my god, Red. Did we get shot? Yep, that's... Thank you, Maho, thank you. That is exactly what I would have done. Maybe I would have been too scared to jump into the front seat, but if I was already in the front seat, absolutely. I would have been like, hey man, just floor it. I'll take care of the driving. Just go and stop whenever I tell you. You're the throttle, I'm the steering. I will say though, trying to like use a car in this like specific situation where you're in the passenger seat and you have to steer is pretty hard. At least it is to me. It hasn't happened an awful lot, and within controlled scenarios, teaching my siblings how to drive, and nobody's life was at risk because we were not on the road. but it is not the most comfortable way of trying to get around. Was that a blinking effect? Was that supposed to be Okabe blinking, thinking that he was gonna hit the guy? Looking at this, this is a little weird because it's showing this little flap of her face and perspective, right? Like this looks closer to how Sukuna has mouths and the sides from JJK, because of this little part of the face showing over here, it implies that all of this is in her right side. Like her whole mouth is just the right side of her face. When you're looking at it like passing by, and this is probably something that, you know, I don't think a lot of people are gonna get stuck in and talk about, right? They'll just accept that, you know, somebody drew it kind of funny and move on and not really mention it. And this is not me like shaping whoever made the artist or anything like that, because obviously there's a way better anything that I could have done. I just think it's a little funny to look at and maybe deserves a couple of minutes of appreciation. That sounds so like him. It's just like, okay. That's great. Golly. Why does he sound like that?
ありがとう。
Oh my god. Is the doctor okay?
ません。警察を呼んでください。
Okay, he also made it out too. That's what I thought that it could have happened. I didn't vocalize it just because I didn't want to go into another yap session, to be honest. But yeah, he got shot in the, but it's still a little strange because I don't remember anything like sounding different after he got shot, like when he was talking to Maho, or when he was hearing Maho talk about like hit the gas or whatever. So I guess that's why I didn't, maybe that's maybe why I didn't vocalize it, because it didn't make sense to me. But maybe it was just like a delayed effect, you know? Maybe with the adrenaline he was hearing fine, but then, you know, as time is passing it's getting worse.
Kokotte.
そこには線側頭動脈っていうのがあって。
見せてごらん。少し触るよ。
Hey yo. That was very stupid. I'm sorry.
Daijoubu. 大丈夫。傷はそんなに深くない。
よかった。
これを使いなさい。
すみません。
Wait, did he say we were fine? Yeah. Fair enough.
人。セミナーにいた人だわ。
Okay. That. Okay, that's fine. That makes sense.
本当か?
So, this is what I'm saying. Every time I think about the game, and I think I'm ahead of the game likes to humble me. The game likes to be like, you thought that was our super, what is it? What have I been calling it? Fuck, I can't remember. Like, you thought that was our super good retroactive writing? Like the writing that only makes sense once you play the game? No, man. This is gonna make sense right now because we did show you that character earlier. God. No. I don't know. It feels like I'm playing chess. But I'm always just one step behind.
覚えてない。あなたが異議を出した相手よ。
Like, every time I have an aha moment, the game is just like, sit down. You only realize it because I made you realize. That's what it feels like. Like, I'm just allowed to think whatever the game is telling me. And it just gets me every time, and it's getting very frustrating. Clever writing, that's what I was calling it.
神の与えし魂とは
Clever retroactive
我
writing
々にこそ
also
宿る
sounds
決してシリコンの
like
上
we're
には
still
宿らない
it does very much sound like we're just adding words. Maybe to sound smarter, but it just gives me a better idea of how to think about it. Like, if it makes sense in my head, it's going to be a lot easier for me to remember. Regardless of if I'm using the right words in the right context.
Nani?
銃を撃つ前に
アマデウス。
さあなあこの
ありのまま言うしかないわ。私たちだって 何が何だか。
What?
つまずきを
He's still
与え
alive?
る世がもたらすものが
Whoa.
忌まわしい。
This guy either has to be pumped on drugs, on adrenaline, or he's being kept alive by the will of God. Because did we see the crash? Like, did we see how he looked? No shot, he's still kicking. To be fair, I probably almost had the exact same reaction in the first game when we got ran over by Moeka, and then somehow, some way, Okabe still managed to get all the way to the lab without fucking dying. So, not unprecedented, but still super crazy. What's that word? It's not a adrenaline, it's a no adrenaline or non-adrenaline? That has to be this. Noradrenaline. Noradrenaline. N-O-R-A. N-O-R and then adrenaline. Noradrenaline. All together. One word. Been hearing about that recently. So, well, maybe not recently, maybe like a couple months ago. But it just came into my mind. That's what this has to be. It's not even like he's pumping on adrenaline. It's just, this is his last moment on Earth. His body's just pushing until the end. Oh my god. Damn, he paralyzed. Not like physically, but like mentally. Oh. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. I was gonna make a fuss about how in the condition that they were describing him, like even if the doctor was standing there completely immobile, it should still be pretty hard for him to get a headshot. But it's one of those things that, you know, in fiction, I am willing to overlook. Like if I said that like in every movie that I ever watched or every video game that I ever played, like obviously I'm just never gonna be able to enjoy stories. It's just one of those things that you just accept, right? But having him being the one getting shot by another mysterious player in the game, that makes just a lot more sense, honestly. Wow. Like I said, now it feels like I was 2 steps behind. Is this game just made by Nikocado Avocado? Wait, so is the police already here? There's no way somebody shoots a gun and gets away, right? From like all the cops, right? I mean, with the context of the situation, if I didn't have my eyes on it, like if I didn't see this, I would just assume that I'm gonna say hitman, right? At this point, that the hitman shot and made that last shot. So I wouldn't like immediately be looking for somebody else who might be suspicious. And that's how I would explain that somebody gets away from all of this with cops already being on the scene. That's the only way I could rationalize it. If they did have line of sight of either the second shooter, the first guy getting shot, and I guess those are really only two scenarios, right? Like if you have line of sight of either one of those, then you know it becomes pretty impossible to accept that somebody can get away with this. But if none of those two things happen, then entirely possible.
何が起きてるんだよ。
Suzuka's POV. This game is amazing. This game is really amazing. Because the moment she said she felt dizzy, or the moment the game said that she felt dizzy, I was like, hey, I'm starting to feel like I'm a little dizzy. And then I look at the background and I realize the background is moving kind of like hazily. That is a great detail to do. Like, it's something that you don't have to do. Like, it is certainly a detail that you do not have to do. Especially in a visual. Like, I would say a lot of cases, you'd be like, show, don't tell, right? Like, I'd rather you just show me than to tell me. But in a visual novel, I feel like that's the only place where it is completely acceptable to tell and not show, because, you know, obviously not with all visual novels, right? But But just the idea of a visual novel, you're still meant to read it, and you're still meant to, or you still have the opportunity, maybe you're not meant to, but you still have the opportunity to imagine things in your head as to how the scenes are playing out. As I have done a little bit more research between the original Steins Gate and Steins Gate Elite, I do remember somebody making a mention of that, how for some people it might be an easier read or an easier experience to follow along with Steins Gate Elite if they're not like really used to reading, because you get a little bit more to look at while you're playing the game to kind of help facilitate that. But then on the other hand, there was somebody who was like, I recommend playing the original. There's a certain charm to, you know, just kind of imagining the scenes, and that's really stuck with me, like that Reddit comment. So that's what I'm saying, like, you don't have to do things like this. You do not have to, at least in this game, within this year, from what you have already established in the first game, you don't, like, you just don't. You're perfectly fine. You what it says, she felt dizzy, strange, whatever. I would have understood the context. I would have not I would have not had a second guess about it. I would have been like, I guess she felt dizzy. But seeing how the background is moving, feeling that dizziness with her, that was amazing. Like, it's amazing. It is such a subtle thing, which maybe not subtle. Hold on, let me rephrase that. I'm sure anybody who read this, who's looking at this scene, would have immediately recognized that the background is doing this. There might have been a slight amount of people who maybe don't realize this, maybe because they're not really paying attention, or they're really locked into the words or whatever. So maybe not subtle, because I do feel like you're meant to see it, but it is such an incredible detail to add. Like, it is one of those things that, man, this is so, automatically gives it a point on my perceived care for the game. You might ask what that is. I'm still working. It's still to be fully fleshed out, but I have been having a bit of enjoyment rating all the games that I've been playing. I've been doing it through the website backlogs, and I'm giving games, you know, in the website it's 0 through 5 stars, with half stars being able to be awarded also. So like 4.5 stars, 3.5 stars, 4 stars, whatever. I just equated that to numbers. So like a 4-star would be a 9. A 4.5 star would be a 4-star would be an 8. A 4.5 star would be a 9. And then a 10-star would be a 10, or a 5-star would be a 10. And obviously that applies to the whole grading system. That's the best way I've been able to make it make sense in my head. But I still need to get to those numbers. The only downside with the website is that now I can't do like 0.5s in my head. So I can't do a 9.5 or an 8.5, which I don't like. That just makes me have to be like, oh well, this game either has to be a 9 or an 8. It can't be a 8.5 or a 9.5, which 9.5 is super few and far between. I've only actually had the issue with one game where I was like, it's not quite a 10, but it's also definitely way better than the 9s. And if I ever was able to put a game in a 9.5, this is definitely one of those games, which was Final Fantasy 16. Anyway, side tangent. That was a side tangent to my side tangent. I'm going to the original side tangent. Part of what helps me figure out what game goes to to the 9s or the 10s, but mostly specifically to the 10s. There are three. I think there are two main things, like super main things, that when I'm grading the game that could land you in a 10. It is story, it is gameplay, and in some cases it could be the combination of the two. So if you get a 10 on either story or gameplay, automatically a 10 for me. Because it's super hard. Like it's super hard to have a game that has both, and I guess if a game were to have both, I would consider that like an 11. Right? Which it has not happened and probably will never happen. But not every game has to have both, right? Like there's some games like Steins that you are perfectly fine with getting a 10 in story and not getting a 10 in gameplay, because let's be honest, like there's not too much to interact with here. I wouldn't say this gameplay is a 0, but there's not much interaction that you do. There's not much gaming that you do on this game, but the story is amazing. And just based on the story, I'm fine with giving it a 10 out of 10. That is not my official ranking. It is yet to be decided. So those are the two main things. I just remembered the third one. The third one was intangibles. So things that are super duper subjective. I mean, I guess already picking if the story is like a 10 or the gameplay is a 10 is already subjective in itself. But this is for stuff outside of that. So things like how much style the game has, how much charisma the game has. Like, did they do something really creative? Maybe on any department at all whatsoever, like the story or the gameplay, the visuals, the music, things that you can't really quite put it into just one category in itself. But there are some games that just do benefit from this a lot. Let me think. Actually, I'm pulling up the list right now. That's nothing to do with the gameplay right now. Honestly, this has very little to do with the original tangent, now that I think about it. Like pulling up the list in itself. Let's see. User rating. Let's see, what are some games? Shovel Knight. Just an example. Shovel Knight is a game that has a super high score in... Hold up, let me make sure I'm using that word correctly. Intangible. My bad. I was saying that completely wrong. Unable to be touched or grasped. Okay, yeah, intangible, not untangible. Whoever sees this, whoever has listened to the last 5 minutes of me saying untangible probably thinks I'm stupid. But anyways, Shovel Knight gets some pretty good points in intangible. Why? Because the game came out in what? Shovel Knight release date. The game came out in 2019. I don't know why I thought the game was a little older than that, but the game came out in 2019. So, in that standard, a 2019 game standard, you don't expect your average game, to look so pixelated, right? So it was obviously a stylistic choice to make the game pixel. But it adds a lot of charm to the game. It is part of its identity, and I think that it manages it very well. And it helps it out a lot. Same thing with like the music, right? Like the music kind of follows. It was a very intentional choice. And I'm not saying that intangibles have to always be intentional. Like there's some games that just have so much swag just because it's the game, Yakuza 0, I think it's a great example of that. Yakuza 0, It's probably my favorite of the Yakuza games that I've played so far, which has only been 0, Kiwami, and Kiwami 2. But Kamurocho and 0, it just feels like it has so much swag, so much vibrancy, so much, you know, ooh la la. So that's also a game that gets a pretty high score in intangibles. Let's see, Cuphead, same thing. Great charm in the visuals. So also scores pretty high. One of those things in that intangible list is perceived care of game. That means that I can't remember actually if it was part of the intangibles or it's part of the bonus points. One of the two, which by the way, bonus points. If I feel like awarding a game half a point or a full point because the game is nostalgic, I will do it, because at the end of the day, that is my list. That is my rating. I'm not saying that these ratings are objective at all whatsoever. These are very personal. So if I get a game and it's total slob and I say it's a 10 out of 10 because it gives me a lot of nostalgia, I can do that because it's my list. We're not giving out any awards here. But perceived care is one of those things that I really like in gaming as part of, you know, as a consumer of games, it's kind of nice, but as somebody who is, how would I say this? I wouldn't say involved because I don't like do anything as far as gaming. Like I'm not like a content creator or a game developer or a promoter or anything like that. So I wouldn't quite putting it like I wouldn't quite put it like that. As a member of the community who really wants it to thrive, I think care for games is important. Not the most important thing for me, but it is important. Why do I say that? Because not every game can be a financial juggernaut. Not every game can be very lucrative, right? But just because a game is not financially successful does not mean that it's a game that is not worth playing, right? Like there are plenty of games that mostly I would imagine an indie, right? Like there's probably a ton of indie games that are not super financially successful, but they are somebody's life project or year project or decade project, personal creative baby, or actually this is the first time that I've vocalized this, which is why it's taking me a little here to get the right words. I'm sure that if I ever get asked this question, or I hope somebody asks me this question in the future of how do you rate your games, I'll have a way more concise answer. But since this is the very, very first rough draft, maybe not the first, maybe this is like the second rough draft, right? Like obviously I thought about it when I was making the list, I just never vocalized it. But as a rough draft, it's just gonna sound really bad and not very coherent. I was saying, yeah, games not always financially successful, but they still deserve to be played. They still deserve love. Now, I don't play a lot of indie, so I'm not really the best example of this. But I feel like we should see that. If we can see that same passion that those people have in all the facets of gaming, from indies to AAA studios, gaming as a whole is going to be so much better. And that's what I really hope. I enjoy playing good games, and if I feel like you really care about your game, you really put an effort, I think it makes it just ever so more valuable in my eyes. Now, I will say I have chosen that word very carefully. This is just a perceived care. So there are people out there who maybe really, really care about their game, but they just couldn't find a good way to show it. That's fine. My list or in my ranking and my criteria, I'm not saying that you didn't care or you did care. I'm just saying that's what it perceives, right? Regardless however you felt about the game. On the other hand, there might be other things or that the original creators or developers or whoever you want to attribute this to did not really care, but then maybe somebody said, hey, let's add it because we need to. And somebody in the office probably went like, oh, you're telling me I gotta work in an effect so that the background looks dizzy? Like, that's such a waste of time. Why would anybody do that? You do it because I'm telling you, because I'm your boss. And then they did it, right? So I wouldn't say that that person really cared for the game. But nonetheless, to me, it still looks like it was care, right? So that's what I'm saying. It is perceived care of game, not actual. And them doing this definitely ups the perceived care a lot. Like, it's such a small little detail, such a small little thing in the. I don't even know if this is standard. Like, maybe every visual novel does this. Like, maybe every visual novel does dizzy. Here you go. That's like if I guess that's the equivalent of I just learned this the other day, yesterday or 2 days ago. That's like if I gave every single game that did the little dimensional cut, you know, the one where like it slashes on the screen and they're going super fast so you can't see it, and then it ends with like a closing of the sword or something like that, and in the background you just see like blood gushing everywhere or pieces being disassembled or whatever, or just a big flash. And I was like, you know what? Every game that does like I see it on my first game, I'm like, that is so cool. And I see it on another game, I'm like, just as cool as the first time. This game also gets a name. And then I see another game, and then it turns out there's just like an industry standard, right? Like ever since Devil May Cry did it, like every other game that has sword characters that are fast does this. And I'm like, everybody who does this gets a 10. Very creative. Like, in reality, I would probably only award that to the first time. The first time I saw it. Maybe not even the first. Okay, I would definitely award it to the first time I saw it. And I would retroactively also award it to the originator if I ever find out that it gets originated from somebody else. Like, I can't tell you when was the first time I saw a character do that. Probably was in a show or something. An anime. Maybe Kill Bill or something. I haven't watched Kill Bill. I don't even know why I said that. I mean, I probably have watched it like maybe once when I was like a super kid, right? Like a super duper young kid. Probably shouldn't be saying that. Kid probably shouldn't be watching that. But like, as in, I don't have any recollections of the movie, and I have not cared to go see it. But I can't remember when I first saw it, but when I first saw it, it probably made something click in my head. And every time I see it, I'm like, damn, that's so cool. It's just like when so-and-so did it in that one game. But then, as I learned very recently, it seems to be originating from Devil May Cry. Virgil's dimensional cut, I think. I might have the name wrong or something. Both the character and the move. But DMC for sure. I have also not played Devil May Cry. So, retroactively, I get to also give bonus points to the originator. So that was a weird way of justifying that if this does seem to be a standard in all visual novels, I'm giving it a point here because this is the first time I've encountered it, where I've actually like noticed it and put a pin on it to put it in my memory somewhere. Like, next time I see this, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, dude, Steins did that also. And maybe sometime in the super future, I will look back and I'll be like, yeah, it's cool. It does. It's like every visual novel does it, and I won't remember that I first saw it in Steins Gate. But because I do remember right now, it is getting a mention. Anyways, that was a very. I think that might be the longest. The longest gap that I've done this stream, or absolutely not. All stemming off of me seeing the blurry effect in the background. But I will BRB now. Okay, I am back. If I am comprehending technology correctly, that should be muted. That should have been muted on the stream here live, but I should have still had the game audio. You know, this kind of little like sidetrack that we have here. I should have the audio file for it, so it should still be sounding on the VOD. I think I don't have a chance to test it out, and I didn't think about that beforehand, but I'm pretty sure if my understanding of technology is correct, that should be how it works. I really wonder how. Let me save, right? Overwriting this. Let's go back into the load. I really wonder how long it would have taken a normal person to go from here to here. Like, it's taken me a little bit over 2 hours. I'm sure somebody could have done it in like what, 15-30 minutes. So, oh man, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to think that I talk so much about absolutely nothing. You know what? I think I might actually do a vow of silence here. I think I'm gonna just try to stop talking for like the next 30 minutes just to really lock into the game, because I really do want to make some progression here. And I will only make a comment if it is truly important. No more tangents for the next 30 minutes.
私。まずいな。あ。
鈴葉 大丈夫か？
うん。
どうしたん？
ごめん。すずさん、体調平気ですか？鈴葉さん、おでこを貸してください。あ、ひどい熱、大変だわ。
え？お、本当だ。
風邪かな？平気。こんなのすぐに治る。
無理すんなって。今すぐ横になるべきだろ、ジョーコ。
そうですよ。それは分かってる。ちょっとだけ休ませてもらうよ。まゆし、濡れた。橋田さん、鈴葉さんの着替え。
こっち。みんなこの中に。もちろん僕中を漁って、はあはあ、くんかくんかとか。
くだらないこと言ってると風邪のウイルスを伝染させてやるよ、兄さん。適当に選んで着替えさせてあげても。
頼むよ。僕じゃそういうわけに。
はい。どう？悪いね、まゆ姉さん。気にしないで。
僕ちょっと風邪薬買ってくるからしばらくやろう。
いってらっしゃい。鈴葉さん、起きられますか？お兄さんが戻ってくる前に着替えだけ済ませてしまいましょう。いや、このままでいいよ。今までもそうしてきたし。ダメです。風邪はひき始めが肝心ですよ。でもじゃありません。早く脱いで。わかった。やるよ。自分でやる。汗びっしょり。まゆりちゃん、乾いたタオルはある？はい、これ。少し我慢してください。子供じゃないけど。もういい。別に遠慮しなくて。遠慮とかじゃないから。 これでいい？はい、よくできました。あとはこれを着てください。まゆりちゃん、このお部屋って洗濯機はないんだっけ？いっつもそれで困るんだよ。そんなことまで。こういう時はお互い様ですよ。そうだよ、すずさん。お腹は空いてます？何か食べ…お腹はそんなに。でも薬を飲む前に食べておかないと。おかゆなんかどうかな？それいいね。じゃあすぐに作りますから、ちゃんと寝ていてくださいね。うん。
ただいまだお。疲れた。
ご苦労様、ダルくん。それを食べたら薬を飲ませてあげてください。
オキドキ。
オッキードッキー。
具合はどうなん？
よくない。
やっぱ疲れが溜まってたんだな。鈴葉が休んでるとこ見たことないし。
我ながら情けない。私、
え？
どこかで気が緩んでたんだ。父さんがいて、まゆ姉さんがいて、ルミ姉さんがいて。そのせいで、時々任務を忘れそうになる。なんだか、この温かい時間がいつまでも続くんじゃないか。このまま戦争なんて起きないんじゃないかって、ふと考えてしまったり、普通の女の子と同じような暮らしに憧れてしまいそうになったり。
それのどこが悪いって言うん？ここを出てどこへ行くつもりなんだよ。
それはもし…
あんなところにずっといられるわけ。
でも
あんなところに娘をずっと置いておけ。
とさ…
おっと、なんかマジレスしちゃった。
What a guy.
とにかく僕は可愛い子と一緒にいられるのが嬉しくて、こっそりハーハーしたりクン
What
カ
the
クンカする
fuck?
のが楽しみなのだぜ。特に風で汗まみれになってる女の子は大好物です。
やめて。
だったら早く直すといいよ。僕にハスハスされるのが嫌。
わかったよ。
もしかして今の僕の言葉でトラウマ解消しちゃった？好感度アップ？
バカなこと言ってると治ってからひどい目に遭わせるよ。
ブーツ履いてゴリゴリ踏んづけるとかそういう？
指と爪の間にいろいろ刺す。
それだけはマジで勘弁してください。すみません。
なあ鈴葉、そろそろ教えてくんないかな。毎日僕にも手伝えること
後で二人きりになったら話すよ。
うん。
まゆ姉さんには聞かせられない話。
Have we even talked about Kagari at this point? She was there for that, so I mean, obviously she's there for this. Huh. I guess not. Excuse me? A terrible off-key tune. What is she? What? That sounds perfectly fine to me. It sounds good. What are you talking about?
これ何の歌だっけねえ母さん。もう起きなきゃ。いつまでも寝てられない。まゆ姉さんの匂い。
This just doesn't sound like a very efficient way to describe a smell. A pale white flower. Like, I get the flower part, but pale white, I don't think I could smell the colors. Maybe it's like a reference to a flower, and I just don't get the reference. That's what it has to be, right? Because otherwise, it's just a very weird way to describe it. But I mean, at that point, why not just say, why hint at the flower? Why not just say like, oh yeah, she smells like roses or tulips or sunflowers or something. I don't know too much about flowers.
ママは痛い思いとかしたのかな。苦しい思いとかしたのかな。
I did not make that vow of silence, y'all would have been hearing it. For sure.
すずさん。うん。ちょっと前から何か食べる？うん。ダメだよ。そんなもう平気。迷惑かけたね、まゆ姉さん。迷惑だなんてそんなことないよ。まゆ姉さんが作ったの？うん。ゆきさんのおかげでまゆしーの腕はメキメキ上達。兄さんは？メイクインに行ったよ。その後はバイトなんだって。そっか。あ、誰かがいないからって夜出かけようとか思ってるでしょ。ダメだよ。平気。平気じゃないよ。そういうこと言うとゆきさんに叱ってもらっちゃうから。
Yeah, Meguri, put those hands up. Tell her, or else.
私がどうかしたの？すずさんがね、寝ていてくれないので。まあ、ダメですよ。あと1日おとなしくしていること、いいですか？うん。はい、そのまま横に。わかったよ。何？すずさんってそうしてると今の姿をダルくんに見せたらちょっと危ないかも。そうだね。時々本当に兄弟なのかなって思うことあるし。気持ち悪いこと言うな。あれれ、すずはさん、もしかして照れてなんかいない？本当に？当たり前だろ。なんで私が。と言いつつ照れてるすずさんってやっぱり可愛いね。萌えだね、萌え。うるさいな。さてと、まゆしーはシチューは食べていかないの？アルバイトの帰りにもう一回ここに寄るつもりなんだ。その時に食べようかと思って。じゃあサラダか何か作っておいてあげる。一緒に食べて。ありがとう きさん、楽しみにしてるね。あ、そうだ、鈴葉さん、汗かいてるでしょ。食事の前に。いいって言ってるじゃないか。シャワーは無理でもちゃんときれいにしておかなくちゃ。昨日も一昨日もやったんだからいいって。1週間ってそんなのダメです。あのさ、そういうこと言う人に限っていつそんなことダメです。女の子同士なんだからそんなに恥ずかしがらなくても構わないだろ。別に背中だけ私が拭いてあげますね。いい、子供じゃないんだからできる。でもちゃんと拭けないと思うし。いいってば。ごめんなさい。触られるのが嫌な人もいますよね。お湯テーブルの上に置いておきますから。夕飯の支度しちゃいます。母さん。できました。どのくらい食べますか？いや、いいよ。それくらいは私がやる。 いや、こっちこそ食事の用意なんてさせて。具合が悪い時はお互い様と言ったはずですよ。食べ終わったらちゃんと薬も飲んでくださいね。うん。ずいぶん上達したでしょ、まゆりちゃん。缶詰をただ温めただけとかそういうわけじゃないんですよ。
This is such a cute scene. Her mouth does look a little off though. Like a little too small for her face. But nothing crazy.
大したもんだね。鈴葉さんもやってみません？教えますよ。
I guess my mouth isn't that much bigger than my nose.
私はいいよ。そんなことないと思いますけど。まあ、いつかっていう人は結局最後までやらないんです。それ、さっきも似たような、そうでしたっけ？うん。さっきの歌だけどさ、あれ、なんだっけ？歌？シャワールームで、ほら、恥ずかしい。下手なのに歌うの好きだからつい口ずさんじゃうんですよね。
I felt, oh my god, I've never felt more related to a character. I feel that so much.
別に上手い下手なんて気にしなくていいと思うけど、何の歌だったか思い出せなくてさ。
It's a little rude, but sure.
実は私もなんですよ。え？印象的なところだけ覚えてるというか、子供の頃に流行った教育番組の歌か何かだとは思うんですけど。逆に鈴葉さんはいつ頃あの歌を？私も子供の時かな。その優しそうな人ですもんね、鈴葉さんのお母さん。
Little does she know. It's been about 30 minutes since I made that vow silence. Vow. This is a good job for Google. Hold up. Vow of silence. I did go off and do some things in the background. I'm trying to get videos and stuff up on YouTube. The Gaming Journal library, I guess, or the Gaming Journal channel. And there was something that I really wanted to talk about that I didn't. I had to obviously bite my tongue because of my vow of silence. Vow of silence, which was is it okay to even have a let's play of a visual novel? Like, I did not even think about it until YouTube said something about copyright, and I was like, huh. Like, in a game, it is a lot more forgiving because most of the times there's some sort of technical element involved, mostly gameplay. Like, even on more story-heavy games, like, you still have to... There's still, like, a lot of choices that you make consciously or unconsciously when you're playing, right? Like, how long it takes you to get there, which route you take, you know, how many bullets you fired, how long it took you to beat the enemy, or whatever the case may be. But there is some sort of unique touch there. Unique in its execution, not in its inclusion. And that's talking about like for very like heavy centric games. Like I'm thinking about like maybe like The Last of Us or something like that. Which, a bit of a personal tangent here, but I think The Last of Us 1 might have been the first Let's Play that I've ever watched, like from beginning to end. Now that I think about it, that might have been the seeds of why I enjoy watching people play video games. Mostly streaming, right? Especially in this day and age with VTubing being so popular. But that was definitely the first one that I saw. I still remember it till this day. It was I don't even know if he had the gaming channel at this point or if it was on his extra channel. I think it might have been on the gaming channel, but I'm not entirely sure. But it was from Hola Soy Germán, Spanish YouTuber that was super popping off back in the day. Might have been the only content creator in Spanish that was like super duper relevant at the time. Like I'm talking about in the entirety of YouTube relevant, and especially if you spoke Spanish. So yeah, I remember seeing his Let's Play of the game. Till this day, that is my only interaction that I've had with the game. I thought that the game looked really, really cool. Just that back in the day, I didn't have anywhere to play. This is during a period of time where I didn't have access to video games much. And I just had like a very basic laptop, and I think PC gaming might have not been like what it is today, right? Where it's like very much on par with consoles or even beyond that. Hey, the screen did the frame, the frame did the thingy where it paused. I wonder how long it's been like that. Probably definitely within the last 30 minutes. Anyways, I was saying that was my first exposure to that game overall. Because I saw it from beginning to end, I never felt the urge to play it. Like, I didn't feel like I was missing that much context by not playing the game because I did watch it in its entirety through YouTube. I do want to play it now, because it's been such a long time that outside of the ending, I don't really remember too much of what happened in the game, like during the actual meat portion of it. And obviously because it has a part 2, which I have not interacted with because I didn't interact with part 1. What was it? What was I gonna say? Where did this start? How did I get into this? Oh yeah, copyright. So yeah, I was like, I don't know if it's okay to have a full series on YouTube of me playing this game. Like, this is the game, right? Like going through it and experiencing it and watching it and hearing it. And I guess to certain people reading it, which I guess if somebody was reading it to me, I wouldn't be too mad. That's because I don't like reading. But I did Google it real quick. If there was a ruling in the court of public opinion about streaming and uploading Let's Plays of visual novels, the conclusion that I arrived at was that it is mostly okay as long as there's a what was it? It's okay as long as the game developers themselves have not, you know, has instructed the public not to. Which makes sense, right? Like honestly, if I would have heard otherwise, like if I would have been like, no, it's actually not cool. You actually have to get permission manually. You have to solicit that to the game developer or the people who published the game or developed it or whoever the person I need to talk to is, in order to get the rights to have it saved on the internet. I would probably stop it right here and stop the stream. But maybe not stop the stream. But I would have privated the videos. So technically, they are privated because I haven't made them public yet. But that's not because of this. That was because I just wanted to make sure that I can get things like the description and the name of the title, all that, a little bit more polished before I put them out on the internet for everybody to see, or myself in the future. But if that was the case, I would have probably still recorded them. Still, maybe not stream. Oh, I mean, okay. Let me take that back. I would have probably still streamed it. Who's watching? Seriously, who's watching? I have no viewers right now. And I don't mean that as a bad thing, right? I just mean it as in like, no harm, no foul. That's A. And B, this game is older. It's not old, but it's older. I think this game came out in 2015, Steins Gate 0. So like, in one hand, my argument is gonna be, it's been 9 years. I'm sure if you wanted to experience the story, you would have not, you didn't have to go to the guy on Twitch that has 1 viewer and experience it through his eyes. Like, at that point, dude, just buy the game, sail the seas, or get it spoiled by somebody else. Somebody more relevant. Right? I mean, I just saw, I did look it up on YouTube, and they're like full-on Let's Plays of the game with no commentary at all whatsoever. So even if you want to take away the personality aspect of watching somebody else play the game, you could take that off. You can take that off completely. No commentary Let's Plays, they exist. They're out there. So I would have probably still streamed it. I just probably wouldn't have had a recording of it out to the public, and I would have definitely still recorded them and keep that for in private. And now that I say it out loud, that sounds like a very good way to at least have my gaming journal somewhere, right? If I ever played something that was a lot more relevant. So that's what my argument would have been if somebody said something about me streaming this game. Now there's anybody here to argue with that. On the other hand, the counter argument to that is, you know, you should probably still not do it. To which I would say, hey Ben, go ahead, arrest me or sue me. You're not gonna get anything out of me because I'm poor. So, well, maybe not poor, but I am broke. So hey man, you do you. I love how as soon as I finished my vow of silence, I went into a 10-minute tangent. But no, it seems like everything's chill. Seems like everything's fine. I can have everything up and running. So if you're seeing this on the YouTube, yeah, I guess that's the only way you would ever really hear this conversation, right? Is because if there's nobody here watching it live. So if you're hearing this, it has to be through the recording, through the VOD. I mean, I guess technically it would be like the VOD on Twitch if somebody saw it within the next 6 days or so. But I also find it to be pretty unlikely. So yeah, if you're seeing this on YouTube, that means that obviously everything is okay and I did not get slain by the copyright gods. And we can go back to that was the first side tangent that I really that was the biggest one, right? That was the biggest one that I was really waiting for the 30 minutes to be up so that I could talk about it. I don't think it helps my case to wait 30 minutes and then spend the next 30 minutes talking about everything I would have in the first 30 minutes. But at least this way, you know, if somebody just doesn't want to see this, they can just skip it, right? I mean, I guess they could theoretically still do that, but you got at least 30 minutes of somewhat, you know, concise story speed without having to. And then you can skip the next 30 minutes guilt-free. The other thing is, man, Daru. When he... And I've said this before. I don't know if I've said this on any of the recordings, but I've said this before for sure. I don't like his character that much. I don't like his personality. I guess that's how I should say it, not his character. I don't like his personality. Like he's a very stereotypical like otaku. I don't know they shut in, but I guess he does get a bit more social play than a Hikikomori would, or a lot more, I should say. But still, like he's not very socially adapted. Yeah, he's not very well socially adapted. He's not that well, huh? He's not adapted well socially. I don't think it matters. You know what I'm saying. So like he says some very out of pocket shit. Like he says some stuff that I could even imagine saying it out loud. Especially to the audience that he's in front of. Like, oh my god. The amount of pervy things that he says in front of anyone, but more specifically girls, which is his intended audience. Right, that's the people who's making the pervy references to. I just can't imagine myself saying some shit like that. Some of the stuff that he says is just, oh my god. But when he is serious, when he's not in that, on that freaky shit, like, he is a very well-written character. Whenever we can, I don't know, maybe because those things happen so few and far between, it makes it that much more impactful when he is being serious. But Daru, when he's being serious, is like, oh my god, so insightful, so caring, so understanding, so will adapt. It is truly amazing to see. We just don't see it often. That's what I would have to say. But yeah, anyways, I think we continue. Also, this is just like a very sweet scene. I can't remember if I actually got to say it out loud, but like moments like these where you just get to see the characters kind of interact with each other, get to see like the nice, in the case of this game, right, where there's not like animation going on, but just seeing like the still images that you don't, or the CGs, I guess that's what they're called in this game, right? The CGs are really cool sometimes. Like these are some of the cool. This is one of the better ones that we get in the game. It just gives you a sense of warmth, you know, a sense of these are just two characters, two people hanging out. In game, I would just say this looks very sweet. You see, she doesn't have the little mouth thing over here. I know I went on a pretty big tangent of that when Maho did it. I just didn't. A, I was in my vow of silence, and B, I just didn't think. I've already talked about it once. What's the point of talking about it again? I've been absolutely skipping that. The conversation flowed so naturally that she didn't think about how to respond. A second later, she realized that she had said.
どういうことって、おとといお見かけしは？ですから、おとといここを訪ねてそんなバカな。お母さんが来たら、だって。
Oh. I mean, obviously it's Daru's mother, but
ごめん。私何も知らなくて、もしかして
oh,
お母さんとの間に何か？いや、喧嘩をして家出してるとか？そういうわけじゃ。今にして思えばなんか変ですよね。お母さんたら橋田さんには着替えやすと、兄さんに着替え？はい。あ、そうか。
I think we both got worried for very different things, Suzuha. You're over here thinking, I guess she really thought that it was like her mother or somebody claiming to be her mother. Well, I was thinking about how her mother coming here is kind of a way to unravel a lie, which is I thought where it was gonna go. So I guess in a way, the game didn't get ahead of me this time. I didn't get ahead of the game, but hey, at least I wasn't behind on this one. The next change of pace makes me feel like I'm being played less. I was gonna say fiddle, and then I remembered Metal Gear. It played us like a damn fiddle.
Do どうしました？なんでもない。
なんでもない。
鈴葉さん、私いつでも相談に乗りますからね。何でも話してくださいね。
Oh my god, she sounds like she's being held at gunpoint.
Uh, ありがとう。
Like, it wasn't the, you know you can talk to me, right? It was like a, you know you can talk to me, right? Like, I just thought that was pretty funny.
やっぱり優しいんだな、母さんは。
What happens to this Suzuha in the future if she were to remain? Like on the alpha, you know, it is very clearly stated that she dies when she's oldish, due to either suicide or just natural causes. But on this world line, like, what would happen if this? What would happen if Okabe never reaches his mission, and then this Suzuha never goes to the future? Like, she, same as the alpha, she has to stay in the past and then grow old. Like, what would that mean to the future? Because I'm assuming that if nobody interferes with the past, it's always going to be like a loop, you know, or I guess kind of like a loop, like a continued loop. Like a roller coaster where it has two loops going together. So it's not like the same circle, but it's like two circles kind of sort of intersecting or like right after another, but it's still the same line. It's not really progressing anywhere. My guess would be that something happens to this Suzuka and she doesn't get to make it to 20 36. Or she does make it to 2036, but she just decides not to interfere. But then at that point, you kind of know that you're stuck in this time loop, so you would know that the mission fails, and that Suzuha would also fail and do the same thing. You know, it's kind of like a weird thing, a weird time paradox. Which is why I think that something would have to happen to her. Who knows? Maybe just two versions of the character. No, I was gonna say maybe two versions of the character can't be alive at the same time, but that makes absolutely zero sense when we think about Okabe. Because there was two Okabes in the radio building for sure. Any way you slice it up, there has to have been two. On the alpha and on this one. Oh, actually not on the alpha, but definitely on this one.
Ah.
マユシーならもうすぐ来るにゃ。
そっか。ダルに呼ばれたんだ。
うん、いつもの席に。
あと今日は知り合いが一緒なんだ。メイドカフェ初心者なんで、俺とダルの話が終わるまでちょっと相手してもらってもいいか。
にゃにゃ、お知り合い。
おい、ヒアジョさん、こっち。
Aww, got her here. I'm surprised Ferris doesn't assume this is like an elementary schooler. I might have said that a little too early.
そんなに驚かなくても。
しかも背の高さから見て小学生か中学生。
Oh man. No. Yeah. I did say that just a little too early.
違う。
The thing is that at this point in time, I guess, off of first looks, I would have said it's a crazy guess to be right in, but whatever, right? But if you would have told me that Ferris talked to Maho, even just like a couple of minutes, and then just inferred that she was actually like a grown person, I would be like, yeah, that seems like in character for Ferris. Someone who, I don't think she can literally read minds, but like, is so good at analyzing people that it might as well look like she's reading minds, right?
信じられない。フェリスというものがありながら新しい恋人、新しいロリ恋人を作るにゃんて。
Pause. You can't go from this, from saying, oh yeah, dude, she's an elementary or middle schooler, to go to she's your new lover, a lolly lover. Like, you're just implying that Okabe is in love with a child at that point.
違うって。
Which is pretty
彼
fucking
女はア
messed
メリカ
up.
の大学から研究のために。
これはもう円卓会議で糾弾するしかないにゃ。
人の話を聞いてくれ。
一体何の話をしているのかしら。
Oh my god, dude, I completely forgot that happened. And that did not happen that long ago. Like maybe like, what, 30 minutes, an hour ago? Maybe like an hour ago. I had already completely forgot that we had gotten attacked.
おかえりなさいませ、お嬢様。当店ではいらっしゃいませじゃなくておかえりなさいませというのにゃ。
I can understand that. You wanna give off that illusion that you remember every customer. Like, yeah, good customer service, sure. Or good customer service tactic. I would definitely call it a tactic.
ああ、そういうことなの。フェイリスニャンニャンだにゃ。お嬢様、ヒア城真帆よ。ヒア城というと沖縄のお嬢様かにゃ。あら、よく知ってるのね。いつも聞き返されるか間違えられるかのどっちかなのに、しかも沖縄の名前ということまで。
That is very in character, yeah. I believe that.
当然だにゃ。フェイリスは3世代前の前世で琉球王国の彼方にある理想郷パイパニローマを守護する精霊だったんだにゃ。はい、そう、あの頃フェイリスたち精霊の声はノロを
For
通
the
じて
record,
人
I
々
didn't
に
even
届き、
read what she said,
正
like
しい
fully. I just saw that she said 3 lives ago, and I was like, yeah, no.
姿へと導いていたの
She's
に。
about to go into a Honin Kyoma level of delusion.
ところが荒ぶる怪人たちがごめんなさい、この人は何を言っているの？
なんというか、秋葉で通じる特別な。
そうなの？
あまり考えると頭がパンクするぞ。
すでにパンクしそうなんだけれど。
とにかくしばらく待っててくれ。
ん？
どうかした？
ずいぶん大きな人ね。
後で紹介するよ。少し。
それじゃあマホニャン、お席
Tell him to
案
listen.
内するにゃ。
I can't remember. Did Maho actually tell him to lose some weight? I know for sure Suzuha did. I think I'm getting confused. I think it was Yuki. I don't think Maho ever said it, right? Because if she did, there's only two possible conclusions. Either in every timeline, Okabe is always telling her to tell him to lose weight before he introduces her, or B, he said it on this timeline and somehow it got crossed through space and time to the other Hiyajo's memories, kind of like what happened to Fubuki and being able to recall all of the Mayuri deaths that we saw earlier, which I think that should be pretty set in stone for all the routes, right?
マホニャン？
Basically anything before 12/15, December 15 should be set in stone for every single route. I think that's the point where you can start making decisions to what ending you're gonna take. So I think it's a little bit more important to pay attention in those first, like, what, 3 to 6 hours. I'd say that because it took me 6 hours, and I'm assuming that it takes anybody else way less than that.
かわいいにゃ。できれば普通に呼んでもらえないかし。これが普通だにゃ。さあこちらへどうぞ。
見損なったぞオカリン。リア充爆発しろ。
フェイリスと同じようなこと言うなって。違うんだよ。
何が違うんだ、あんな合法ロリコ。しかもすごく可愛いのに なんだか垢抜けなくて残念な感じがたまらないよ。オカリンのくせに生意気だ。ぬふー。
そういうこと本人に言うなよ。怒ると怖いぞ。前に電話で話しただろ。襲われた時に一緒だったレスキネン教授の助手の。
Oh, so you already told her. I mean, he already told him about the attack.
そんなことはどうでもいいっつうの。問題はオカリンが僕を差し置いて可愛いおにゃの子を連れ歩いているっつうことなのだぜ。
お前もすればいいだろ。デートとか。
闇だとさらにできるようになったな、オカリン。
Oh my god. How was he being a jerk? He just told me to. Oh man.
嫌味じゃない。ユキさんを誘ったらどうなんだ。
I see you. I see you. Playing little matchmaker here.
ぐぬぬん。
Good job, Okabe.
まさかまだ全然アプローチしてないのか。
いいんだ、僕は魔法使いになるんだから。
What does that mean? There's an urban legend that if a man is still a virgin past the age of 30, he becomes a wizard. It's also said that further training can make him into a fairy. Well, it's nice to know that I'm gonna get powers at some point. You know, I'm not even gonna take a picture that's sent to my friends, but too lame. Too lame. They already make enough fun of me as is.
おいおい、それじゃまずいだろう。鈴葉が生まれてこなくなる。
それを言われると。
Checkmate.
ユキさんのこと嫌いじゃないんだろ。
そりゃ綺麗な人だし、太ももとかうなじとかハーハーするけど。
I know how I just said earlier that I hate this man when he's in this mode, but hey, I appreciate you at least you know what's important here.
やめないか変態。
変態じゃないよ、変態紳士だよ。
どっちで
Doesn't
もい
make it any
い。
better.
俺は恋愛的な意味で言ってるんだ。
そういうのよくわかんない。
って子供か。
今日のお前が言うなすれはここですか。まあいいや、そういう話をしたくて呼んだわけじゃないし。
確かに。
うん、実はさ、話は2つあって。
Oh, Inkyoma.
まず1つ目な。マユシには内緒にしてほしい。
マユリに内緒？
うん。
なんで？
ちょっとね。
Oh, Suzu had told him about Kagani. Now he's looking for her.
オカリンってさ、マユシの幼馴染だろ。マユシの友達か知り合いで。
かがり？
Whoa, you don't have to look at me that serious, man.
いや、俺の知ってる限りは。
じゃあ名前は置いといて、マユシと特別に仲の良かった。
そうだな。 俺が答えられるのはこの程度だ。お前が知ってることと大して変わらない。
いや、それでも十分だよ。助かった。
なんで真由里本人に聞かないんだ？
まあいろいろあっ
というか、誰なんだかがりって。どうして誰が
実は僕じゃなくて。
鈴葉が？なんで彼女が真由里の知り合いなんか。それはつまり真由里の未来に関係あるってことか。
まあね、その子の名前さ、椎名かがりって言うんだと。
I wonder if this is a route where Kagari never tells Mayuri that she's her daughter from the future.
椎名？真由里の親戚か何かか？
そうじゃ
Because
ない。
it felt like they really played off of that
そうじゃないことも
on
な
my
い。
other route. So kind of
Mayushi no
seeing how they would interact without
娘
playing
なん
on
だっ
that
てさ。
would be a bit more interesting to see. I mean, they kind of sort it. It's not like they told him right away, or told her right away. On that other, what was it? Promised Renacimiento route. So I still got to see some of it, but just kind of seeing how they flesh it out even more would be kind of interesting.
Mayuriの娘。
声がでかいっつうの。
本当なのか？
ただ実の子供じゃないらしい。繊細孤児だったのを養子にしたとかなんとか。
でも変じゃないか。なんでこの時代に真由里の娘が。
鈴葉と一緒に2036年から脱出してきたみたいなんだよ。
なんだって。
ところがさ、ミッションのために1998年の秋葉へ立ち寄って鈴葉は必死になって探したんだけど見つからなかったらしい。
I can't remember if they've explained it yet, but what did they stop in 1998 for?
それで1998年に置いてきたのか。
探してる最中、
Like
タイムマシンが見つかりそう
1975
に
makes
なった
sense
み
because
た
they
い
went
で
for the IBN,
かが
but
りを残したままジャンプせざるを得なかったって言ってた。
unless the time machine has to take like breaks in between like certain jumps.
その後は数ヶ月単位の小さな移動を繰り返して2000年まで進んだところで燃料がギリギリになっちゃって。
で本来のミッションを果たすために一気に2010年まで飛んだっていうことか。
けど鈴葉は今に来てからもまだ諦めずにずっと探し続けてるんだよね。
Now that I think about it, the ending of PR, the way it did kind of did the ending where you send the D Rhine back in time. This is basically how Okabe kind of, I imagine this has to be how Okabe felt when he was hopping in between the timelines in the alpha, because it was pretty well established that we as the viewers, we could see every time he jumped into, like every time there was a change that made an effect into the timeline because there was a divergence, but Okabe couldn't. He just knew that something happened Or I mean, he knew that he was in a new timeline or a new instance of that, of the alpha, but he couldn't know by how much until he had the machine thing from Suzuha. But thinking about it now, within this game, now we know we're traveling. Like that's what I'm saying. Like we know we're traveling to a different instance of the same world line. So like a different timeline, right? Of the same world line. But we don't know which one it is. Like we don't know if this is like the 1.05 or the 1.87 or whatever the case might be. But we do know that it can't be the same one, right? Unless they all overall like reach the same conclusion. Which, I mean, that's not impossible to think, right? Like they all reach the conclusion that they have to go back in time to until they get the right world line. But I feel like that's very much part of that route story. I don't think we're gonna see that same message go across all the routes. I might be wrong, but I only know that once I've played all the other ones. But I highly doubt it. Anyways, I will BRB. I am back. Where's the game? All right.
つことで、それとなくまゆしに聞いといてくれるかな。
俺が
10年ちょい前に自分と同じくらいの年の子が会いに来なかったかとか。
わかった。聞いてみるよ。
That's a pretty good conclusion. That the Kagari that got lost in 1998 probably went to look for Mayuri. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum. Bum, bum. Bum, bum. Bum, 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 bum.
それじゃあこれからパンケーキをさらに美味しくする魔法をかけるにゃ。魔法？さあ、マホニャもご一緒に。世界がやばいにゃ陰謀にゃ。
The world is in danger. It's a conspiracy. Oh man, I don't know how fair this is.
それじゃあこれからパンケーキをさらに美味しくする魔法をかけるにゃ。魔法?
So you pronounce magic the same way that you pronounce her name? That's interesting. And I never, no, I don't know if that's like, if they ever made any puns about it in the game. If so, it's completely blown over my head.
普通に食べさせてもらえないかしら。ここではこれが普通にゃ。ではどうぞ召し上がれにゃ。いただきます。あ、マホニャ、垂れるにゃ。蜂蜜が垂れちゃうにゃ。え、あら。もう赤ちゃんみたいだにゃ。 ちゃん。
Honestly, that's gonna bug my mind for a minute here if I don't use Google too. It is. It's spelled almost exactly the same. And it does sound like it does sound the same. Maybe I've just been mispronouncing her name the whole time, but it doesn't seem like I was that far off.
One つ目の話は分かった。で、
これ、
なんだ。
やっぱ、やめた方がいいかな。
言ってみろよ。答えたくないと思ったら。
じゃあ、
Alright.
秘密のバイトというと。
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. I think they might have mentioned that he has a job, and I might have had the same reaction. They might have said that it was hacking, and I just don't remember. But yeah, hacking as his job, quote unquote, makes sense. It's about the only job I believe he could keep. Or he could have, my bad. I'm getting pretty hungry, so. I stand corrected. There's another job that he could definitely do that is very legal and he could also keep. I absolutely hate that I spoiled myself with the other science adventure games. If you do not want to be spoiled by the other games, please skip for now or close your ears or something. But if I would have read this now, maybe there's like a non-zero chance that I forget about it, but just the way that it's spelled, I feel like I would have remembered this, right? When I found out that Daru is in what's the game called? Robotic Notes Dash. Like if I would have waited, if I would have read this and then it would have came back then, I would have been like, wow, that is so cool. Like that was told so far in advance. Like that's a great callback. I don't know what happens in that game at all, so it's beyond me, but I just felt like it would have been nice to know. Or nice to be surprised by that. Daru the Super Haka. I don't know what the A was for. Can't remember.
ごめん。やっぱやめとく。
I hope. Dude, has Daru even met Maho yet in this route? Because I was gonna say, I hope that this job was given to him by Maho to, like, you know, crack the computer, the password. But I don't know if they've met yet. In the other route, it happened like pretty late into the game, like super duper late into the game. So I don't know if what would accelerate that if it was Maho. The slightly more likely answer is that it wasn't Maho who's asking him to do this. And the bigger question becomes, who is employing him for this? Is it Stratfor? Is it the Derpa? Whoever it is, it can't be good.
待て待て。ここでやめられたら気になって夜も眠れなくなるだろ
でも
う。あんまり気を使うなよ。その方がかえって辛くなる。
This is probably one of my favorite developments in this
わ
route.
かったお。
Or the most interesting, not my favorite, but one of the most interesting developments that happened in this route in comparison to the other. Someone brought in a laptop and a portable hard drive to us a while back. Both of them really strong full disk encryptions on them, and we can't be booted without password. So you can't take the hard drive out and connect to another PC either. The client hit up a bunch of places with no luck and finally came to us. Excuse me? What? This doesn't make any sense. So, given the context here, it very much sounds like either A, it is Maho, just, you know, with an alias or something, or B, it's not Maho, but how would somebody else have the same, like, how did they acquire the computer? Because in the other route, if I'm not misremembering, I mean, they just never got the laptop. They never got the laptop, so wait a minute. I'll come back to that in just a second. My other bigger question is, what do you mean you're the ones who made it? Like, are you selling a software encryption program? And if you are, like, how did Makisa's laptop end up with it? Like, was she your client, or how does she have the encryption in her stuff? That's a B. Now that I think about it, I might be wrong, honestly, but oh man, this is not gonna let go of me. Hold up. Oops, sorry, almost. Let me save here. Oh my god, it's been about an hour and some. I'm just not realizing how far the playtime versus the actual time is off. Like, this one's off by like 20 minutes. I'm sorry if you're watching this for a purely wanting to know the story. But I will have to test this out. Okay, so the
For
working
one,
theory
we
is
believe it's possible. In other words, through artificial intelligence.
well, we're here. Whatever. What now? Leave me alone. The theory is I want to know. There were 2 times where we switched divergences or world lines in this game
あいつは
that happened without us having to do anything. Like that happened completely opposed to whatever we did. But I want to know if that happened here and in the what I would consider the canon portion, like the portion that everybody experienced, regardless of which route you did, or if it was after we locked ourselves into the other branch. Because if it happened before, then it doesn't really matter that much. But if it happened after, then I would say that when we that accidental jump or that accidental activation of reading Steiner, then my working theory is that whoever hired Daru got a hold of Amadeus in the other timeline as well. It's a little hard to explain. They're both in the same timeline.
はい
They're both like in the same. They're both happening at the same time, even though they're on different routes. That's what I'm trying to say. So it was happening on, and for intents and purposes, I'm gonna just keep on referring to the PR route as my route, and then the current route as this route, the current playthrough that I've been doing right now. It's this route, right? So on my route, that event happens on both, right? And maybe on this route, it's going to explain a little bit differently. But on my route, they also got a hold of it. So they get a hold of it on both of them. But because they got a hold of it and they weren't supposed to originally, that's what triggered that involuntary divergence switch. So it's mostly just a way to satisfy my curiosity. And once we figure it out, I'm probably gonna call it there. Okay. I think I remember it happening in the bridge, but it was when Okabe was talking to Fubuki and Kaede. So does that happen in the canon or? Oh, we did see Kalani. Let's pause. Let's... What chapter am I in? Just put it here. Close epigraph. Go back. So... Okay, close epigraph is before the 15. And then that's where it changes, so it's free sheet.
その
This is gonna be very, like, a very stupid thing to try to fact check myself. Like, maybe I could have found the answer. I could have found the answer online. But I just wanted to know for myself. And the theory could be completely wrong, but like, even if it didn't happen here and it did happen only in the alpha, there's no way for sure of saying that. Plus, I did say that I thought it would be very important to pay attention for the first 6 hours to kind of see what happens on every possible route. It looks like somebody finding out about the... Yeah, it looks like it never... Now we can take it one step further and go in here. And do the same thing. Wait a minute, what? Okay, okay. So it did happen here. So did it happen here then? Whatever. It doesn't matter. So yeah, it only happens on this timeline. On this route. The route that I played. So yeah, that could be it. It could mean that Daru actually successfully hacked it. And that's why that happened. Anyways, that's where I'm gonna call it for now until we get food, play some other games with some friends, and I might come back later. I don't know if my family is like hosting an event today. If they are, then obviously I'm gonna be busy. But if not, I'm super down to come back in a couple hours and possibly just finish this route, the current one that I'm on. Yeah, literally this one, right? Later today. Alright, well, thank you so much for being here or watching this in the future. And I will be back.